You know, usually when we talk about elite athletic performance, there's this underlying expectation of a controlled environment.
Like a laboratory, right?
Right, yeah, like everything is sterile and predictable.
Exactly.
You run a 100-meter dash, and the track is the exact same synthetic rubber, whether you're in Tokyo, Berlin, or Eugene, Oregon. I mean, the physics are just a known quantity.
Yeah.
The surface is flat, it's perfectly measured, it's clean. Right, and we condition ourselves, sports fans, to expect outcomes decided purely by an athlete's biomechanics. But then you step onto the grounds of Augusta National on a Sunday afternoon, and suddenly that laboratory is completely dismantled.
Oh, completely. It's a totally different world.
It really is. Yesterday, April 12th, 2026, Rory McIlroy walked into what was essentially a merciless environmental and psychological landscape and proved that the 90th Masters tournament is, well, it's the ultimate tactical survival test.
It's the ultimate test of everything, honestly.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to extract the high-level, technical, strategic, and industry-wide insights from a massive weekend in golf. We've got a stack of intelligence reports, leaderboard data, global tour dispatches, and we are going to get into all of it. Okay, let's unpack this. McIlroy successfully defends his title, finishing at 12 under par, a total of 276, and he claims his second consecutive green jacket and his sixth career major.
Yeah, and when you look at the architecture of a major championship victory, it rarely follows a straight line.
No, never.
What we witnessed was just an absolute masterclass in psychological resilience. Because his week was the perfect embodiment of volatility, which is, that's the defining characteristic of Augusta.
Volatility is putting it mildly. I mean, he came out of the gate absolutely staggering the field.
Yeah, and opening 36 holes of 67 and 65.
Right. He establishes this record six-stroke lead by Friday night. The broadcast booths were practically preparing the coronation graphics already. But then Saturday happened.
Yeah, that brutal third-round stumble.
A 73. And just like that, the historic lead was entirely erased. It felt like we were watching a slow-motion car crash, honestly.
It really did feel that way.
Yet, he somehow manages to compartmentalize that disaster, close with a 71 on Sunday, and win by a single stroke. I mean, how does a player prevent a total system failure in that situation?
Well, I think the answer lies in a fundamental shift in his psychological baseline. Let's look at the context here. By winning the 2025 Masters last year, McIlroy finally completed the career Grand Slam.
Right. The pressure was off.
Exactly. Yeah. That missing green jacket was an 11-year albatross around his neck. So coming into 2026, he was playing with a profound, almost unfamiliar sense of freedom. The psychological burden of chasing the ghost of Augusta was just gone.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So when he stumbled on Saturday, the old Rory, the one desperate to prove he belonged to that Grand Slam club, might have spiraled. The 2026 Rory simply absorbed the blow. He understood that Saturday's volatility wasn't a flaw in his swing. It was just the course extracting its inevitable tax.
Well, I hear you on the mental freedom, but I kind of have to push back a little on the technical side, specifically his putting.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because navigating the second nine at Augusta on Sunday when it's baked out, I mean, it's visually terrifying. It's like trying to stop a marble on a dried-out glass countertop. And his putter was freezing cold early in the round.
That's true. He had a rough start on the greens.
Remember that bizarre decision on the par 3 sixth hole? He was off the green, down a hill, and he chose to putt instead of chip. The ball barely crested the hill, lost all momentum, and just stopped dead.
Right. Yeah.
He ended up two-putting from there for a bogey. So when your flat stick is betraying you like that early on, how does a guy survive those infamous slick greens down the stretch?
Well, that decision on the sixth hole actually perfectly illustrates the terror of Augusta's turf interaction. When the course is that firm, sliding a wedge under the ball is mathematically incredibly risky.
Oh, because of the bounce, right?
Exactly. The bounce of the wedge interacts with the hard ground before the blade reaches the ball. So a millimeter miss, and you scull it across the green into the grandstands. He opted for the flat stick purely as a defensive mechanism.
Just prioritizing safety.
Yeah, and he simply misjudged the friction. But that defensive mindset actually saved him later. On lightning-fast greens, lag putting becomes your primary weapon. He didn't need to drain 20-footers on the back nine.
He just needed to not leave himself, 3-foot downhill knee knockers.
Precisely. His pace control had to be flawless, and he calibrated his speed exactly when the tournament pressure peaked.
And he needed every single ounce of that calibration because the chase pack was relentless. I mean, Scottie Scheffler just did something that hasn't happened in 84 years. A bogey-free weekend at the Masters.
It's unbelievable. First time since 1942.
He finishes solo second at 11 under after shooting a 68 on Sunday. Let that sink in for a second. Not a single drop shot on Saturday or Sunday at Augusta National.
It's an incredible achievement.
But what's baffling is that he did it without his putter cooperating at all.
It really is the most fascinating statistical paradox in golf right now. Scheffler ranks first on tour in tee to green performance. He ranks first in ball striking. But he is hovering near dead last in putting.
Which makes no sense.
It defies traditional golf logic. He's world #1 and nearly won the Masters while putting worse than almost everyone else in the field.
It speaks to just how historically great his ball striking is. He's hitting approach shots so tight that he's completely mitigating the poor putting. Think about that miraculous shot on the par 5 15th hole.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
Right. His tee shot is way right in the trees. His second shot actually ricochets off a pine trunk.
Yeah, he's 189 yards out looking through a microscopic gap between trees over water.
And he somehow sticks it and makes the up and down for birdie.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the heartbreak on the 17th, he has an 18-foot putt for birdie. You could literally see the ghost of Jack Nicklaus in 1986 hanging over that putt.
Oh, the body language was identical.
Identical. But Scheffler's putt stays a single dimple to the left of the hole. If that drops, we're likely looking at a playoff.
And this brings us right back to his putting mechanics. Scheffler's struggle isn't about reading the greens. It's a mechanical inconsistency in his stroke path.
Like a deceleration issue.
Exactly, often tied to deceleration at impact. When the pressure mounts, the neurological pathways that govern fine motor skills start to fray. He relies so heavily on his hands rather than a stable pendulum motion, which introduces micro variations in the club face angle.
Well, we'll touch on how he's trying to fix those neurological pathways with equipment in a minute, because that's a whole other deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
But while we look at the 15th and 17th as the dramatic crescendo of Sunday, the actual psychological checkmate of the tournament happened much earlier. The par 3 12th hole. The heart of Amen Corner.
What's fascinating here is that the 12th hole is the ultimate graveyard for Masters dreams.
Always is.
The aerodynamic demands of hitting a ball over Race Creek with swirling winds are complex enough, but the real challenge is internal. McIlroy and Justin Rose arrived at the 12th deadlocked. The pressure is suffocating.
And Rose falters. He misses the green, fails to get up and down, and makes bogey.
Right. And McIlroy, meanwhile, executes this incredibly aggressive, perfectly flighted iron shot that cuts right through the crosswind, and he drains the birdie.
In the span of 5 minutes, on the most dangerous plot of land on the property, McIlroy engineered a massive 2-shot swing.
It was surgical.
It really was. And while McIlroy was playing chess, a few others completely fell off the board. Cameron Young was tied for the lead entering Sunday, but his issue seemed to be a total lack of tactical patience.
Yeah, he rushed things.
He 3-putts the 6th, finds a bunker on the 7th, and just never recovers his scoring momentum, finishing tied for 3rd at 10 under. When you lose the lead early at Augusta, the immediate human instinct is to force birdies to get it back.
But Augusta doesn't allow you to force anything. The course architecture punishes aggression that isn't backed by perfect execution. When Young tried to step on the gas, the course simply redirected his momentum into the hazards.
And when you're out playing your local municipal course and you slice a drive out of bounds on the first tee, your heart rate spikes, right? You rush the next shot, your grip gets too tight, and suddenly you're unraveling.
We've all been there.
Now imagine that physiological response when you are Houghton Lee on the bag 9 of a major. He was in the top 10 entering Sunday, and he suffered a collapse that will be in the history books for all the wrong reasons. A triple bogey on the 12th.
Ooh, brutal.
And then riding that massive wave of adrenaline and ruined tempo, he steps onto the par 5 13th and takes the quintuple bogey 10.
10? I mean, putting 2 balls into the water tributary.
He tumbled all the way down to a tie for 38th.
That is the compounding nature of golf trauma. A triple bogey elevates your cortisol levels, your fine motor skills degrade.
So you just lose control.
Completely. A standard draw around the corner on the 13th suddenly becomes an uncontrollable snap hook into the creek because your hands are moving faster than your hips.
It's a brutal reminder of the human element. And we certainly can't ignore the most visceral collapse of the week. Sergio Garcia, the 2017 champion.
Oh, boy.
On the second tee, after a terrible drive, the emotional response completely overrides his professionalism. He breaks the head clean off his driver in frustration, destroys a water cooler on the tee box, and gets slapped with a code of conduct warning from the competition committee.
That image is going to stick around.
The image of him awkwardly carrying his playing partner John Rahm's bag down the fairway as an apology is going to be burned into our memories. He finished at 8 over par.
Garcia's meltdown perfectly highlights how extreme environmental factors amplify emotional responses. We keep mentioning the course conditions, but we really need to quantify why it was so difficult.
Right, let's talk about the agronomy.
Augusta literally has a subterranean vacuum network beneath the greens called the subair system. All week, with relentless sun and mid-80s temperatures, these underground vacuums were actively sucking the moisture out of the root zone, pulling water down and away so the grass blades dry out and harden like concrete.
By Sunday, the greens had developed this desiccated, almost like a tinge of purple look.
Yeah, that purple hue is the visual indicator of maximum firmness. When a green loses that much moisture, the grass blades actually shrink and become rigid.
So it changes how the ball interacts with the surface.
Completely. It's like the difference between dropping a golf ball on a thick, plush carpet versus dropping it on a stiff, bristled hairbrush.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
On the carpet, the ball sinks in, creating friction that grabs the dimples and generates spin. On the hairbrush, the ball sits completely on top of those rigid spikes, killing any friction. The spin rate required to stop an approach shot becomes mathematically impossible for certain trajectory windows.
Which completely changes the required ballistics. Players were forced to land the ball well short of the green, relying on the rollout, which introduces a dozen unpredictable variables in the fairway turf.
And the stats back up just how impossible this was.
Oh yeah, in round 1, the par 4 7th was the hardest hole on the course, averaging over 4.4 strokes. And in the final round, across the entire field of the world's best players, there were exactly 0 birdies recorded on the 17th hole. 0.
It's mind-blowing. So when we zoom out from the agronomy of the course itself, we have to look at what this result means for the global golf hierarchy.
Yeah, big picture stuff.
Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson both withdrew before the tournament. Tiger continuing to navigate health issues, and Phil dealing with a personal family matter.
Right, and it signifies a definitive, undeniable passing of the torch. With McIlroy and Scheffler sitting at world number 2 and number 1, respectively, and battling down the stretch of a major, we are firmly entrenched in the McIlroy-Scheffler era.
Without a doubt.
McIlroy joins the exclusive back-to-back Masters Club, a club that previously only had Nicklaus, Faldo, and Woods. It cements his legacy in the absolute pantheon of the sport. We're also seeing the immediate tier below them solidify, with Cameron Young elevating to a career-high world number 3 despite his Sunday struggles.
And you know, when course architects create these impossible desiccated conditions, the players can't change human physics to stop the ball. They have to adapt. And that adaptation is forcing a massive evolution across the entire global golf ecosystem. We can't just look at Augusta in a vacuum.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at how the rest of the world is responding, starting with the Asian Tour, which has become an absolute battleground because of its pathway to the Levy Golf League.
Oh, absolutely.
At the International Series Japan, Travis Smith pulled off a thriller. On the 72nd hole, he drained a 20-foot eagle putt to shoot a 7 under 64, finishing at 15 under total and avoiding a playoff by a single stroke.
But we have to understand what that 20-foot putt actually represents. It wasn't just for a silver trophy. It secured crucial ranking points for that LAV pathway.
Right, there's a lot on the line.
The injection of Livy capital into the sport has fundamentally altered the psychological pressure of a single stroke on the Asian Tour. Smith wasn't just putting for a win, he was putting for a multi-million-dollar venture capital injection into his career trajectory.
The physical shaking players experience over those putts now is entirely different than it was a decade ago.
Exactly.
The stakes have never been higher, and the talent pool has never been deeper. We saw this on the LPGA Tour as well. Hyo-Jo Kim is asserting total dominance, securing back-to-back victories by defeating Nelly Korda at the Ford Championship.
Yeah, incredible performance.
Meanwhile, Lauren Coughlin claimed her 3rd career title at the Aramco Championship in Las Vegas. The staggering depth of the women's game means that players are shooting 65s and still finding themselves in the middle of the pack.
And if we transition to the amateur notebook, we got a very harsh reality check this week about the gap between elite amateur golf and major championship execution.
Oh, a huge reality check.
All 6 amateurs in the Masters field, including highly touted players like Ethan Fang and Jackson Harrington, missed the 36-hole cut. It proves that raw talent isn't enough to survive the tactical demands of Augusta.
But the pipeline is overflowing, right?
Oh, completely.
The 2026 Australian Master of the Amateurs at Southern Golf Club, which is a brutally tight, punishing track, by the way, saw Abel Edward win the men's green jacket and Hyojin Yang take the women's title. And stateside, Jackson Koivoon, the current world amateur golf ranking #1, absolutely dominated the Mason Rudolph Championship. He is setting himself up as the prime target for massive professional sponsorships when he finally makes the leap.
Which brings us back to how players are actively using technology and equipment to survive the modern game. We talked about Scottie Scheffler's neurological petting woes earlier. The 2026 PGA show heavily showcased the rise of grip trainers. Scheffler is currently using a molded grip trainer on his 7-iron every single day during practice.
See, if the world #1 is using a piece of molded plastic to physically force his hands into the correct alignment to overwrite his faulty neurological pathways, every serious golfer listening to us right now should probably be analyzing their own connection to the club.
Yeah, because the grip dictates the club face and the club face dictates the golf ball. It's your only physical connection to the implement.
Makes total sense.
But beyond training aids, the most significant shift in the industry is how manufacturers are pivoting their core design philosophies using artificial intelligence.
Right. For the last 2 decades, the marketing strategy was always, buy this driver, hit it 10 yards longer. But raw distance isn't the priority anymore.
Exactly the opposite. The AI integration we are seeing now is optimizing for consistent ball speed across the entire face. Engineers are using supercomputers to design complex topographies on the inside of the club face.
Like hills and valleys of titanium.
Yeah, hills and valleys that you can't even see from the outside. They're manipulating the bulge and roll to essentially expand the sweet spot. Why? Because when superintendents make fairways tighter and greens as hard as a hairbrush, penalizing off-center hits, the manufacturers respond by making the clubs artificially forgiving of those human errors.
It's an arms race between the course architects and the club engineers.
Yeah,
The courses get harder, so the computers make the clubs smarter.
it really is.
And then you have a guy like Bryson DeChambeau bypassing the retail market entirely. He's building his own custom 3D-printed irons specifically calibrated for the turf at the Masters. I mean, elite, microscopic personalization is becoming a prerequisite just to survive the top tier.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, you have to wonder how this relentless technological and psychological arms race affects player fatigue. The season doesn't stop to let them catch their breath.
It really doesn't. Next week, the players pack up their hyper-engineered clubs and head to South Carolina for the 2026 RBC Heritage.
Going from Augusta National to Harbor Town is a massive psychological whiplash.
Oh, completely different styles of golf.
You transition from the massive, wide-open, undulating expanse of Augusta to incredibly tight, claustrophobic, tree-lined corridors that demand a completely different shot shape. You can't overpower Harbor Town. You have to surgically dissect it.
The storylines to watch are going to be heavily focused on the mental hangover from the Masters. How do players who suffered trauma at Augusta bounce back?
Yeah, that's the big question.
I'm looking at Cameron Young, who let the lead slip away, or Shane Lowry. Lowry was firmly in the mix through 54 holes and then shot an 80 on Sunday. An 80. How do you physically and psychologically recover from an 8-over-par disaster on global television and tee it up with confidence on Thursday?
You just have to compartmentalize the trauma. The truly elite players possess a short-term memory that borders on selective amnesia.
They have to.
But the more pressing storyline has to be whether Scottie Scheffler can finally find a putter or a grip that clicks. If he stabilizes his putting stats to even just tour average, his ball striking is so historically dominant that he would be virtually unbeatable.
So what does this all mean? We just witnessed a week that permanently solidified Rory McIlroy's legendary status in the game. He proved he can conquer his own internal demons and the hardest, most unyielding agronomic conditions Augusta can possibly offer.
Yeah, he really did.
At the same time, we're watching a rapidly evolving, highly technological global ecosystem where AI-designed club faces and multi-million-dollar 72nd hole eagles on the Asian Tour are fundamentally reshaping the future of the sport.
This raises an important question for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. As elite major championship courses become increasingly firm, fast, and completely reliant on tactical survival, and as top players turn to extreme personalization, and manufacturers forge clubs using supercomputers just to combat these courses, Are we approaching an era where players' technology, their equipment data, and their engineering will matter just as much as their human swing mechanics?
It's a wild thought. Are we watching a pure human athletic competition, or are we inching closer to a Formula One race where the engineering of the car matters just as much as the skill of the driver?
It's definitely blurring the lines.
The line between human biomechanics and algorithmic assistance is definitely blurring. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us to continue creating more content like this. And the next time you're frustrated by a missed putt on your local municipal course, just remember, even the laboratory of elite sports gets completely dismantled when the greens turn purple. See you next time.